Hi, my name is Liz, and I'd like to show you how I turned my small backyard into a little urban garden. And I call it the Bizzy Bee Garden. So let's take a look. Hey, welcome to my garden. So this is one of my favorite little spots up here where I can just sit and relax and have my coffee in the morning or my little lunch break during the day. It starts to get some nice shade in here up at the top of the garden. That's why I have all of the plants and everything planted on down, because that gets the best sun in the morning as the sun's coming up. So I got this wire spool for free when I picked up some pallets, and so I just stuck some blocks under it to even it out and get it nice and level, so I can have it here as a little table to work with and have some stuff under and on. Built this nice gate back here out of some 2x4s and a bit of this fencing to keep it blocked off. Critters out, dogs out, unless I want to let them in. And then take a tour down here into where I have everything planted. I've got a couple raised garden beds. These two big ones that I have right in here. They were, well, that big one down there was the first one to go in. That's where I started my garden. About 3 years ago was the first time I started gardening, and so that was when I moved in here. Before that, I lived in a condo complex and just had nowhere to do any sort of gardening. So this was my first experience, and it's grown from there, and I absolutely love it. So first, let's come in and take a look at one of my favorite, I think my absolute favorite section of the garden this year. I've got these lights up here that I put in. It makes it look really pretty at night. But my cucumber plants, they are just growing so big and beautiful. And so I put in this trellis just like a week ago, because when I planted the cucumbers, obviously they were little, and I had the trellis going just up to the top of the fence, and then the cucumbers reached the top of the fence. So I decided to go ahead and bring them on across and over as a bit of an archway. I try to do as much like vertical gardening as I can in my small space. So over here I have two hybrid cucumber plants. Use them for salads and stuff like that. And we've got definitely some nice big cucumbers here, and lots of them coming in. This one's got a funny little shape going on to it there. I think the cucumbers are just such a cool plant. I love all the vining plants, but this is just such a neat one. And then down here I planted the pickling cucumbers, because I definitely love to pickle them. Pickles are one of my favorite things to eat, so if I can do them myself, that's even better. And there's two of those in here, so like here's a nice one coming in over on the top of the trellis, and there's a bunch more down in there as well. And then it gives me easy access in here to my cherry tomatoes, so that I can just come in here nice and easy and still pick those. You have a small space, you definitely have to think about how you lay it out, and I've tried to do that as best as I can here. So you can see lots of cherry tomatoes coming in. These are just regular hybrid cherry tomatoes, and then back behind that, this is the top of it here, is a sun cherry, and those are really delicious. They're bright orange when they come in, and there's like a ton on this branch back in here. Those are super yummy in salads. And then just up in the top section of this little garden bed, I put in some lettuces. This is lettuce, this is kale. Garlic kale. And then I've got chives back in here. So that's a nice little low section of the garden, and I can grow some stuff down in here. It stays a little bit cooler down in here, and all this gives it some nice shade and everything for that stuff to grow a little bit better when it gets real hot in the summer here. This is Chloe, and she loves the garden. What's your favorite plant in the garden?
Giraffe.
That's not a plant, that's a dog.
Giraffe.
For real, what's your favorite plant?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know plants.
You don't have to know the name.
Lavender, I guess.
You like the lavender? Why?
Nice.
Okay.
Because I just like lavender.
Yeah, it smells good. Do you know what my favorite plant is this year? Cucumbers. So was your second guess. All right. Say thank you for visiting the Bizzy Bee Garden. So over on the other side of my little fenced-in area over here, I have the container garden section of the garden. So starting all the way up here, I've got sweet potatoes planted. This is the first time I'm growing sweet potatoes, and I'm trying to do them in these big containers. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm excited about those. I love to do the sweet potatoes in like the oven, or they'll be great for, you know, the fall time. They should be, you know, ready and stuff. So that'll be awesome. And then on down here, I've just got a little bit of lavender in a small container here, and then I have several containers of onions. This is one of them, and then there's a few more on down there. And then just back under here, to show you under the table, a better view of it, I've got a couple containers underneath there with some mint and some cilantro, because those just need a little bit less sun. And here comes Ivy into the garden to visit. Hi, Ivy. Good girl? She's a good girl. She likes the garden. She doesn't dig it up. Good girl. All right, and then I had this little space here, so I recently filled that in with this little raised garden box that I just built out of some extra pallet pieces that I had from some leftover pallets. And then we've got the rest of the onions back in here. As we're coming up, here's the Bizzy Bee Garden sign up close, hand painted by me and my best friend Andy. And then this year I've made sure to add flowers down in this section of the garden. I have some wildflowers and other flowers out in the front of the house, but I wanted to really make sure I was attracting bees, pollinators into the garden this year as much as possible. So I have some zinnias that I planted from seed right there, and they're very beautiful now. Lovely. Down here in some more containers, I have carrots, which are doing good, and I am gonna probably take those out pretty soon and have them be small. They're really yummy like that. And then I'll like start another round of them down here in the same bucket. Just keep reusing that. It's nice. And then one more container down is my okra, which I'm very proud of because it's the first time I've grown it, and it's just looking real good. It's very big, super tall and healthy down here. It really likes it. Yeah. And the next part is the beans. And I put in this trellis at the very beginning of the growing season this year. It comes out of the large garden bed and all the way across and attaches to the fence on the other side. And I put it in expecting this fencing to just kind of hold it up. The beans got very large and heavy across the top. And so I just added in this support beam here out of some 2x4s to just keep it up, and so that I can at least walk under it. Other people have to duck a little bit, but that's okay because I can make it under. And I'm the one that's out here picking everything. So as you can see, the beans are doing real good. I love them like this. I, got this DIY idea off the internet, of course, and I just loved the idea of being able to walk under and have all the beans just coming down and looking real beautiful, and easy to pick too, because last year I had them over in another section, and I had it in this like small little teepee type of trellis, and I had to crawl underneath of it to find all the beans, and they were, they're hard to see because they're green and all the leaves are so green. So this is a much better and easier way to do it, because I can even climb up on the side of the garden bed and reach the top of the archway here. So this is definitely a really cool section of the garden. Provides some nice shade under here for me, for whatever in the garden is growing that needs some shade can kind of be plopped under here. And when it rains, I'll like come under here, whatever. It's cool. And so I love it. All right, and then in the last section, as I call it, of the garden down here is where I have the bigger tomato plants and my pepper plants, and then a few more containers on past the bean trellis. And I have the lights coming through here and all the way around the garden. Just makes it nice at night. It's pretty. And if I'm coming out here and trying to check for bugs and different things, or just trying to do something in the garden when it's not scorching hot, I can have the little lights on. It gives me a little bit of visibility. Here comes Ivy back into the garden. We've got some birds, some robins with a little nest with baby birds up under the deck. And Ivy just doesn't want to leave them be. So the mama and papa bird are very upset with her right now. They're not getting along. All right, so down in here, like I said, I've got all my pepper plants, the tomato plants. So the tomatoes, I've got bigger ones. I've got a black prince and a Mr. Stripey. First time I've grown tomato plants like that. I'm just kind of trying them out, and they're really cool. They're getting really big. The black prince is definitely producing some fruit. The Mr. Stripey is struggling with producing. I was having some issues with blossom drop on that one and one of my other tomatoes, and so I've been just trying to go around and do some pollinating methods myself to help them out and give them a little bit better boost here. But I do know that sometimes it's the heat. It's been very hot today. It's a good bit cooler, but it has been pretty hot here the last couple weeks, so that could be part of the problem. As far as the pepper plants, I've got chili peppers up here, some red chilies. I absolutely love growing peppers. I think they're so cool. They do really good in the hot summer. So they get going the time when other stuff is kind of struggling maybe in the garden because it's too hot. So they're really fun to grow. Plus I love to cook with them. I love peppers, love spicy food. So that's awesome. Yeah, so like I said, 2 chili peppers up here, banana peppers back in here, which, woo, I'm seeing there's some nice ones coming in. I love to pickle those and then put the pickled peppers on everything. Back in here, there's some other varieties of peppers. You can get a better view coming in here. We got the hot cayennes back here, which are funky looking. I love those. They're really cool. Sure, they're gonna be very spicy. And then I've got a bell pepper plant down here in a container that I recently put in. That's why it's so tiny. It's a transplant. Just got it from the local department store, so, or Lowe's or whatever. So I think it'll do pretty good down here. It's already got some one little pepper on it there. We'll probably cut that one off early so it can continue to produce more fruit going on up. Over on this side, I've got some basil, and this is like my favorite basil plant in the garden. It's a variegated variety, which is really cool. Has all this neat variegation over all those leaves, and it's a pesto basil, so hopefully soon I'm gonna use a good bit of that and make some pesto. That'll be good. And this is Greek basil over here, and then under everything in this side of the garden, under the tomatoes and everything, I've got some more herbs. Got the purple basil over here, some regular basil and Thai basil down in here, and then some lemon thyme, which I love to just come in and kind of pick the herbs as I need them, which is awesome because then they're super fresh and you're not wasting stuff going bad in the fridge, because I know like every time I have to buy fresh herbs from the store, they go bad if I don't use them like basically right away. Got one other little tomato plant over here, which is a dwarf variety, and it's struggling a little bit. Got some leaf curl. I was having the blossom drop on this one as well, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully its only issue is the heat. I had it up on the deck, which gets a lot more sun and gets hotter, so I moved it down here, and hopefully that will help it kind of recover from all that. Right next to that, just some pretty flowers that are speedwell, and those are also there just to attract pollinators. Along with this zinnia is getting so tall up here, so it's getting so much sun and everything, but it's very pretty. I like zinnias. Have a look at the busy bees at work in the Bizzy Bee Garden. So that's most of the garden. Like I said, I just try to use the space as best I can, and every year I'm changing things and trying different things to make the most out of the garden space. And so I'll keep building more beds. I have a plan to do some, stacked beds, and it's just more vertical growing space. So it's the main section. I've got one other garden bed that I put in just recently. We can go take a look at that. I am also putting in a patio off the back here. Just all out of pallets. So that was mostly the reason for getting a bunch of free pallets the other day. And then the last little garden bed / trellis that I put in is for pumpkins. I'm excited. I've not grown pumpkins before. Another hand-painted sign by me and best friend Andy. That turned out really cool. And then put a little fencing up around here, which was just an old dog kennel thing that I had for the pups. This garden bed was done out of pallets. That's why it's just a little rough, but it came together good. It's nice and solid. And then I got 3 transplant pumpkin plants here from the local store, and built this trellis because I'm going to try to grow them vertically, and my plan is to then be able to like hang them. I'll give them some sort of support with something. I've seen different DIY ideas for that online of how to get them growing vertically. Plus it's all completely fenced in, so there is some space for them to grow out and over the bed in here, and I could still get in here and pick them and everything. The fencing goes all the way to the bottom. This trellis goes all the way to the bottom, so little critters aren't getting up in there, and the dogs aren't coming in here and messing around in the garden bed, because occasionally one of the three will do that, especially if there's tiny plants in there and they, aren't sure that it's actual garden space. They're usually pretty good though. So that's everything that I'm growing. And then my plan for this garden space is to eventually put another raised bed along the fence over there and just continue this fencing out and take up that space. I can put the wheelbarrow somewhere else. And then I've got this huge shed that is falling apart. It was here when I bought the house. It's been useful. I store stuff in it. But what would be even more useful would be a greenhouse. So the plan here for the rest of this summer, I'll be working on it, I'm sure, and hopefully have it ready for the fall so I can put some of my container plants in there and continue growing some stuff into the later fall season than I usually would be able to. So basically the shed's pretty big. That whole size can be turned into a greenhouse space. So I've got some antique windows that I'm going to be using for that, and some more boards and stuff. I'll probably have to pick up some more wood, but otherwise I'm pretty ready to get started on that project. I got to deconstruct this shed first. That's the first part. Ivy's come back to check on us in the garden. She could hang out outside all day. Thank you so much for visiting the Bizzy Bee Garden and coming along on this tour of the garden with me. You can follow me on Instagram at Bizzy Bee Garden, and you can also subscribe and like here on YouTube. Have a great day. Keep getting out in your garden and getting your hands in the dirt. Bye.